I was sliding across the asphalt down a busy California street in LA, and all I could think about was, please don't let another car hit me. When I finally came to a stop, I looked down at my leg, and it was broken into pieces. My foot was dangling off, and it seemed like my leggings were the only thing keeping my leg together at all. Blood was everywhere, and then I saw people approaching me, but they weren't running over to me. They were walking really slow with a horrified look on their face. So I was rushed to the emergency room, put in induced coma, and I didn't know what to expect when I woke up, and honestly, I didn't know if I'd ever even wake up again. The first thing that I learned when I did finally wake up was I had a 1% chance of saving my leg, and doctors were going to amputate it. Now, I don't know who bets on 1% chances, but I did because I was a dancer and a trainer and an athlete. Fitness was my life, and I needed my leg. So despite dozens of doctors recommending for me to amputate it, I chose to keep it. That took 34 surgeries, months in the hospital, and thousands of hours of excruciating physical therapy, along with daily reminders that I may never walk again, but they saved it. And I really thought the worst was over because I was finally upright on my crutches, and I was just happy to be upright. I know I don't look too happy here, but I was really happy just to be out of that hospital bed. And I went in to the doctor, and he looked at me, and he said, "Are you the kind of person that likes to push through pain?" And I said, "Well, yes, sir, I am." He said, and I kind of thought, wow, he can tell I have a PhD and suck it up. And he goes, "Well, you need to stop. You need to stop right now. You've got something very serious. You've got a nerve disease called complex regional pain syndrome. Your life is never going to be the same. You need to go back home, get back in your wheelchair, and put your leg up." And I said, "Okay, well, for how long?" He said, "Forever." I felt like I had just been given a life sentence. Here I had worked so hard, and I thought I was going to be rewarded for all my hard work, only to find out it's going to get worse. But you know what? I didn't go back home and get right back in my wheelchair. Instead, I went straight to physical therapy. And I told the physical therapist, I said, "I just learned something today, and I'm going to have to work harder than I have ever worked before if I want to have the life that I've always imagined." And, you know, sometimes I think in life we're thrown experiences as a way of teaching us lessons that we most need to learn. Obviously, I had a lot to learn, but I'm learning. I'm still learning. But, you know, I wanted the best for my life, and I went and searched the doctors, the best doctors, and I tried everything to get out of pain. When I looked up CRPS, I was shocked because it's called the suicide disease because it leaves you in constant chronic pain. It's ranked highest on the pain scale. That means it's more painful than childbirth or passing a kidney stone. And I live with that. People live with that. Then I was shocked to see how many people actually live with chronic pain. It's an epidemic. 1 out of 4 people live with chronic pain. It's our #1 leading cause in long-term disability, and it outnumbers cancer and diabetes combined, not to mention partly responsible for our opioid epidemic. So when I went to the doctor, I tried everything. I mean, I had ketamine infusions. I had a spinal stimulator. I had spinal blocks. I had spinal radiofrequency. I had Eastern, Western medicine. I mean, at one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills along with prescription medication. That's a lot of stuff. And nothing was working. And actually, I'm embarrassed to say I was really an easy target for every charlatan, faith healer, and snake oil salesman around. And when nothing worked except for one thing, and it's not what you think. It didn't necessarily get rid of all my pain. It helps me get through my pain, and it's resilience. Because the truth is, the pain was here to stay, and I had to make a different choice. I think so many of us, when we're in pain, we don't talk about it. We cover it up or suck it up, or we even try to numb it out by eating too much or drinking too much or shopping too much. At least that's what I did. And that led me down a road of despair. And I was really in a place where I'd lost my career, I lost my joy, I lost my self-confidence, and I was in a place where I didn't want to continue living, but I was too afraid to die. But there was just something inside me, and we all have it. It's resilience. It's our ability to overcome obstacles and roadblocks and really thrive. So how do you tap into your superpower of resilience? Well, it hit me one night when I was sitting at dinner, having dinner with my husband, and he looked across at the dinner table and he looked at me and said, you really need to pace yourself. And it kind of pissed me off. I was like, I am pacing myself. And I wrote down the word pacer on a dinner napkin. I started writing down everything I did throughout the day to pace myself so I could strengthen my resilience. And then I didn't realize it wasn't just helping me with my pain, it was helping me get through my fear, my anxiety, and it was even helping me get rid of a little bit of my depression. Now, the first part of pacer is perspective. And you have the ability to change your life with a single shift in perspective. And you know what? It's the cheapest and the easiest way to shift your mindset and change the way you feel about your situation. It's something I do on a daily basis. In fact, just the other day, I was on my way to pick up my daughter from school, and my leg, it hurt so bad. It felt like there was a vice grip on my foot. So as I'm driving, I put my right leg up on the dashboard and I drive with my left foot. Yeah, look out for a F-250. You want to stay away from it. I finally get to her school and there is no parking. And the thought of having to walk that far, it sank me down into a pity party until I forced myself to think about how far I'd come and how worse it could be. I mean, at least I still had the ability to go pick up my daughter from school, even if it meant driving with my left foot. I had crutches in the back of my truck. I could swallow my pride and use those. Then I thought, you know what? I'm just grateful I have both my legs. And suddenly I was filled with gratitude. And gratitude is alchemy. It turns what we can't do into what we can do, and it turns what we don't have into what we do have. And it really turned my denial into acceptance. Now, some things are easier said than done, and acceptance was so hard for me. I was living in denial. I did not want to accept that I was going to live the rest of my life with a chronic pain disease. And not only that, I hated my leg. Hated my leg. Not that it just didn't work properly, that it gave me pain all the time. I hated all the scars. In fact, I hated it so much, I was going to my doctor to ask him just to cut it off. When I went to him, he said, well, amputation's no longer an option for you. You have CRPS, and it may make it worse. But then he did something. He put my leg in his lap, and he looked at it like it was a piece of art. I wasn't supposed to cry. He looked at it like it was a masterpiece. And it's something shifted in me. And I thought, if he can look at it that way, then I can too. And I'm telling you, from that day on, I loved it a little bit more and a little bit more until I was able to let go of the shame and embrace all my imperfections. And let me tell you, it was not easy to embrace this right here, but it takes time and you can do it. Whatever that you are holding on to, whatever shame. And then once I was able to accept where I was on my journey, I was relieved because all of a sudden I could start talking about it and I didn't have to pretend like everything was okay. And it led me to a community of people where I made meaningful relationships. And I think community may be the most important part of Pacer, because when we have community, it's powerful. You don't have to do it alone. Look, I tried, and it didn't work. But when you are laying in a hospital bed, depending on somebody to carry your bedpan for you, you realize pretty quick how important a community is. But I'm not talking about just my great doctors and my nurses and my family and my friends. I mean, I'm talking about my clients too. I think I needed them more than they needed me. I needed I needed purpose. I needed a reason to get out of bed. But even when I was stuck in my hospital bed, I did everything I could to be of service, whether that was making a phone call or whether that was writing out exercise plans. You know what? I even had some of the nurses in the hospital asking me, well, how do I get a better booty? So I was giving them exercise tips, whatever I could do to be of service. Because let me tell you, when life throws challenges our way, it takes endurance. My athleticism taught me about endurance, but my pain has been my biggest teacher. I ran track in Texas, and I was a miler. And when you run that mile, when it's 100 degrees outside and 100% humidity, you learn a little bit about endurance. Then when I first moved to LA, one of the first jobs that I was hired for, I was a run leader. And it was my job to teach people how to pace themselves for a mile. And that seemed like a good job. Now that just seems like torture. But my endurance went from pacing myself for a mile to pacing myself and just how to get through one day of pain. So it looked like just trying to get from one end of the mall to the other, or trying to get through the day training clients and still having enough energy for my family at night. It's really about having the willpower and the willingness to get up every day and get gritty and persevere. But it's not necessarily about enduring the pain. It's really doing our best despite our circumstances and really creating that balance. It's about knowing when to push past what you thought you could achieve and knowing when to give yourself the gift of grace and recover. Because the most powerful person is somebody who's really passionate, that just won't give up. But we all need to rest. And so when I was explaining this to my husband over dinner, he was buying this whole thing about pacer until it got to this last part. And he told me, he laughed at me and he said, "You are so full of crap." He goes, "You don't rest." And I said, "Oh, I'm still learning." The truth is, I'm still learning to rest, because in my mind, resting meant quitting, and I didn't want to be a quitter. You know, I grew up in Texas where we had sayings like "get her done" and "cowgirl up," and my favorite was "hide your crazy and be a lady." So I was doing my best. But resting is about recovering, and that's exactly what we're supposed to do. It's refueling and replenishing yourself. And you know what? If you really want to strengthen your resilience, you can start by strategically stopping. Give yourself the tools to rest and recover by planning times to rest mentally and physically. You know, I'm not trying to tell you not to try every kind of treatment out there, because I think that we owe it to ourselves to be the best that we can do and the healthiest we can, whether that mentally, spiritually, and physically. What I wanted to tell you is, you know, I'm still in pain every day, and I'm just doing my best to pace through it. And I think it's a miracle that I'm even here and able to stand, and I'm so grateful for that. But my sincere wish is that you can take some of these tips with you. So whether you're in pain, whether you're heavy-hearted, or whether you're just having a bad day, maybe this will shift your perspective a little bit, and you have the power to do that. Change is possible, and hope is available, and the choice is yours. If you know of somebody that's hurting, please reach out to them, even if they look strong. You don't have to know how to fix it. We just really want to know that you're there. And if you're hurting, I know it takes courage, but please reach out to somebody. And if I can leave you with one thing from our time together today, let it be this. You can't bury the pain. You can't go around the pain. You have everything within you to pace through the pain. Thank you.